else like a coffee? You're happy? You're caffeinated. Okay. Okay, we're all caffeinated. Are we all caffeinated? We're all ready? Okay, so I think that was a pretty lovely start to the morning. Hal and Ryan having such a great chat, talking about creativity, songwriting, and all the things, getting really nice and personal and sharing their thoughts. So why not bring up another 4 people onto the stage who are going to be sharing their thoughts with us today, running workshops with us. So we've got obviously an afternoon where you've all been allocated to workshops. As I said before, back of your lanyard will tell you who you have a workshop with. So now's a chance to hear from our wonderful workshop facilitators for the day. Thank you for being here, wonderful songwriters. I might just introduce you to each of them. So please allow me to sit and read a bio about each of you. We all love that. So here we go. We're going to have a panel discussion, bit of a chat. We're going to talk about creativity and songwriting and all the things that we're here to talk about today. We'll all share our thoughts. We'll have a bit of a chance for question time, and then we'll break for lunch, and then we'll do our workshops this afternoon. I am going to start with Karen Lee Andrews. Karen Lee Andrews is a powerhouse performer, known for her soulful blend of blues, gospel, and soul music. Her EPs, including Far From Paradise and Eden, showcase her unique artistry and storytelling. Karen's live performances are a testament to her dedication, having graced stages at major festivals like Woodford Folk Festival and WOMAD. Her music is deeply influenced by her Polynesian background and her passion for connecting with audiences. Please give us a big round of hands for Karen. Welcome. Odette, based in Sydney. Georgia Sallybanks, known as Odette, is an English-born singer-songwriter acclaimed for her soulful and smart pop songs. Her debut album, To a Stranger, and its follow-up, Herald, showcase her unique blend of confessional, piano-led balladry and spoken word poetry. Odette's music explores themes of growth and mental health, and she continues to captivate audiences with her powerful performances and genre-bending style. And as we all just heard, she's working on a new album. Welcome to the stage, Odette.
Thanks.
Darren Middleton, songwriter and guitarist with award-winning, much-loved band Powderfinger. We could talk about Powderfinger for a long time, but I think we all know exactly who Powderfinger is. Following Powderfinger's conclusion, Darren has pursued a solo career, releasing 4 albums, also working as a composer for film and television. He continues today working in many aspects of our music industry, including mentor programs, which makes him perfect for running a workshop today. Please welcome to the stage, Darren Middleton. Lance Gurisik is an ARIA-nominated and multi-APRA Screen Award-winning composer. Both of his albums, Cull Portal and Proffer, were The Guardian UK's Contemporary Album of the Month, 4 out of 5 stars in 2023 and 2024. John Lewis wrote, Gurisik's startling album, Think Aphex Twin meets Keith Jarrett, combines jazz, electronica, and contemporary orchestral music to compelling, coherent effect. Welcome to the stage, Lance.
Hey, everyone. Hey.
What a lineup. This is good stuff. And pretty multifaceted too, which is really nice. I think that kind of gives us a nice approach to the concept of songwriting. We've got a lot of different genres and ideas and backgrounds. So, and I was sitting here before. I have a million questions in front of me, and we'll just cherry pick a couple of them. But I think sitting and listening to Hal and Ryan helped to kind of lead some of those questions. So maybe just to get it flowing and get to know each of you a little bit, can we just hear about maybe how long you've been songwriting for, and if you want to give us a bit of background on how you started out songwriting.
So you're looking at me, so I'm assuming that I'm first. Well, I grew up in church and was singing from a very young age, but also very encouraged to write music and write my own lyrics. It was the first place that I learnt how to connect emotion with words. So that was sort of inbuilt from a very young age. So yeah, I've been writing since then. Nothing profound or very insightful when I was young, but more so towards my 30s is when I started really writing things that were more honest and true to who I am and what I believe, and also how I want to connect with the audience. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you.
That is beautiful.
I think we're both nervous, can you tell?
The weather, yes. I started writing when I was 8, and I just really loved piano. I thought it was the coolest thing ever, and still think it is. So pretty much piano rocks, and yeah. But I just kept writing, and I found it to be very therapeutic. I was a very emotionally intense child, and I didn't know how to communicate big emotions. So I found that when you write music and like playing an instrument at the same time, I found it to be this entire new form of communication with my parents and my peers, and God, the attention that it brought, it was just beautiful. Only child, so yeah, like would just put my hand up in school in assembly and go and play really depressing songs in front of, seriously. And I didn't know they sounded so sad, so I'd just be like,
Were they your originals?
oh yeah.
Aww.
But yeah, kind of just been doing that ever since, just chasing that feeling, yes. And the catharsis.
I think as writers we tend to gravitate towards depressing songs. Or I would say it's easier to write that way than to write something overly positive. We could, you kind of have to force the issue, I think. We can talk about all that sort of stuff later. I probably started songwriting when I was about 15 or 16. And I'm very envious that, like Karen said, she sort of found her way into who she is with her writing when she was 30, because I wasn't until I was maybe 40 that I kind of found that. Been writing songs for a long time. Different for me when you're a songwriter within a band, because it's much more, life's all about compromise. In a band, it's always about compromise as well, because you might come in with a song and then you've got, the sum of the parts will make it better, the other members will, but they'll pull it apart, and that's part of the process to make something better, usually. So I spent, from about 16 onwards songwriting, and with my band, if anyone does remember the band, it's a long time ago, honestly, for me, like 15, 14 years ago we finished. Oh, all right, stop it.
I think we remember the band.
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting, maybe it's a different journey for me to all of these guys here, just purely because of our journey, sort of we had a lot of people around us. The band grew incredibly huge, for way bigger than any of us ever dreamed it would grow. Different pressures involved, different sums of money involved in pressure situations. So we always kind of shut that out as 5 people to try to stay true to whatever it is we were trying to do and say. And then so why have I gone on a Powderfinger rant here? I'm sorry, but I'm trying to get to the process of me as a songwriter sitting up here today. So the band finished, and I sort of had fallen out of love with music and songwriting. It was just a symptom of being in a very big situation. It would be like, a marriage of 30 years, and you sort of like, you might come out of it sort of going, I just don't believe in love anymore, or something like that. And it can take steps to find your way back into it. So there was a few years, and then I started writing again. And I just kind of found that I had more reasons to write. A lot of my writing is very self-reflective, and it's either me as a participant in the song closely tied to my life, or it's as an observer where I'm writing about other people. And my first solo record was called Translations, because it's kind of what these guys are saying is, music and songwriting is a translation of our lives and our emotions into melody and lyric and music. And I've spoken for way too long on the stage already, so let me pass it over to Lance. But yeah,
He's going to say it better than I can anyway.
No. We were saying like we're going to probably just blah, 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 and I've already
That's
started.
what you're here for. We want to hear the ramble. Go on a tangent. All good.
So I got into music quite late. I picked up a guitar when I was 16 years old and just became obsessed with putting together these things. I didn't even know what they were. They weren't really songs. I didn't really know what I was doing. And from there, I kind of had a mentor that was someone that wasn't at my school, but from the local area, because I wanted to do composition for my HSC. And no one had ever done that before at my school. So my teacher was like, I don't know how to teach composition, so I'm going to send you to this other school. And I had a mentor, and he suggested that I try to get into the Conservatorium of Music, and which I did, and I studied there for 4 years. And I was exposed to a really broad range of music, whether that be jazz, classical music, and it really expanded my idea of what music can be. My music vocabulary. And ever since there, you know, it's been this journey of just, you never stop learning about music, and you never will. Everyone, I'm in love of music and what it can bring, and I'll never know everything about it, and no one in this room will. And it's this solitary journey of where you just constantly getting inspired and finding new things and growing as a creative person. And I'm so what's that, 16, I'm 35. Nearly 20 years, so, 20 years
Wonderful.
of writing.
I guess then we've sort of talked about where you started, and I guess what I'd like to ask next is about when you're writing a song, or the reason why you write a song. Where's it coming from? Are you a storyteller? Is it coming from a feeling? Do you think any of you could expand on that?
I would say it is different for different people. I mentioned briefly, perhaps you're an observer or a participant in your lyric narrative. You know, sometimes it can be easy to take a story and write about it. We were loosely talking about some composing that we do because the narrative and the story is on the screen, so you're really kind of supporting something that exists. So I know for myself, I've written songs where I've read something in a newspaper and it's inspired that song in particular. But for the most part, I tend to write from my own kind of personal experience in life. And it's not hard, because if you think it's hard, you just have to look to your close friends, family, or even people outside you, and you can go, there's a whole well of inspiration and motivation there to help my songwriting. So, and I find that easier because at the end of the day, for me, you want to be able to stand behind your songs, know what they're about, the reason they were written, and you've won. When you can do that, it's very easy because you know why you're up there singing or playing it. So personal experience mostly, I would say.
And I think Dobby touched on this earlier, but I find setting yourself limitations, or whether that's like a conceptual idea that you can base your music about, or a body of work, it allows you to kind of set a framework so that you have something to aim towards. Because the hardest thing to do is finishing music. I'm sure everyone here has music that's just sitting there on a hard drive that's kind of this half-cooked idea. And I think sometimes you have to view what you're doing from a bird's eye perspective and look at it critically from further out, so that you can see what's there. And then, like setting those limitations will allow you to finish things and build something that makes sense and that has continuity.
For me, it's the tone of an instrument, or a chord, the touch of a hand on guitar strings, or how somebody plays the piano is usually what inspires me. I, like Georgia here, I had a lot of issues with being able to articulate how I felt. I came from a very traditional family that didn't talk about feelings or emotions. So I have big ones and they had to come out somewhere, and it was usually through texture and tone. And certain words will help me express that, but it's more about the tone for me. That's where my inspiration comes from for personal writing. If it's for somebody else, and then it just depends on how I see them and their life and their story.
I am very similar, except my family was incredibly untraditional, and I expressed myself overly, but had the same result of not really being heard. So I feel like I've reached that same point where texture and color and like I think of songwriting as almost like mycelial. Like you will like reach out and you will absorb everything that's around you as information, and it will allow you to evolve and create something. And I always feel like when I write a song, it's from this deep urgency. I don't know if anyone can relate to this, because sometimes it's casual. Sometimes it's like, I went outside and there's the tree. But like most of the time, it's like I've got this primal, maybe intergenerational like need to articulate very specifically and very clearly in the most beautiful way I can. So yeah, just finding the most efficient ways of doing that.
I think we're all dreamers and we're all realists and we're all magicians, and we are also the reveal, I guess, as songwriters is our kind of, how was that for a metaphor, was it?
Yeah.
I'm going to put it into a song.
Love that.
We're the magicians and the reveal.
There you go. Write that down. Write that down. Ryan, you got a pen back there? I think I think talking about inspiration is a really great thing to be kind of focusing on, I guess, today, because you know, we're here and we're talking about that moment, I guess, when you feel inspired to write a song, or perhaps it's a moment where you decide to write a song. So perhaps, how do each of you approach it? Do you ever sit and go, I'm going to write today, like some people do, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, that kind of thing? Or no. Or do you purely just wait until inspiration hits?
I have a full-time job as a composer, 9 to 5, so I come from a world where I need to do things. I don't have time to get inspired. I have 3 hours to write a piece of music, and the client is expecting it very quickly. And because of that training, I think I approach music, I don't wait around for inspiration. The inspiration comes to you when you start doing things. I mean, maybe that's controversial, but everyone has their own things, but I have to just go there and start. If you don't start, you will never do anything. That's my opinion. You just got to do it. It's like going to work, and you'll find that nugget, and then that'll become the concept, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I just did that. I'm like, I've been here for 5 hours. I haven't gone to the toilet yet, and I've got this thing, you know. And it's like, but it's if you in my personal experience, if you wait around and just waiting for that thing to come to you, I don't know about you guys, but I've never had that. I need to just do it. I need to get there. I need to listen to music. I need to, you know, go out and experience nature. You know, you can give yourself those things where you might have a glint of something that inspires you, but I think you just have to just do the work and get in the studio and write, and just, that's my process, at least.
I relate to that a lot, to the point where, like, I mean, you're obviously a composer, so you are making stuff that you will send off, and you're like, this needs to be the thing. Whereas for me, when I'm working in the studio, it's like, I'll make a song, it'll be absolute arse, and then I'll move on to the next song, and it'll be like it. And so it's kind of like when you sit down and you start, you already have it like within you to create. You just have to start, and even if it's terrible, you just have to keep going. It's like kind of cleaning out the cobwebs a little bit.
Yeah, I'm very goal driven when writing. And but at the same time, I do want to be inspired. So I will make myself do things that are uncomfortable, like go to a party. This is giving me great anxiety at the moment, but I'm gonna come and do this today because I want life experience, and that's where, you know, inspiration comes from writing, to write. And also go and see music. I go at every opportunity I can. I'm busy on the weekends, and I do my own touring and own shows and things like that. But wherever I can, I always make time to try and see live music, not just to support, but to be inspired. I need to be inspired. So both work hand in hand for me.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's different for everybody, but a level of commitment is absolutely necessary. Even if you're a dreamer and you're just waiting for it to hit you, you still have to recognize that hit and go, okay, now I need to follow this. Not just kind of go, oh, that's lovely, and then I'll... If you're inspired enough to kind of start something, then it is important to finish it, absolutely. So for me, it's a little balance of both. Where I am in my life and my musical journey, I can sit around and wait for it, and then I need to finish it.
But yeah, you got to act on it, because you can't just go, oh yeah, I'll do that next week. Like, you got to get it done.
Yeah, and like anything, it might not be the best thing in the world, but the point is finishing.
Yeah, and like just becoming familiar with that process, because that first track that you write, you're like, oh, that's a turd. But you go in the next day and you're like, or you listen to it at the end of the day, you're like, oh yeah, I love this. And you wake up in the morning, you're like, and then you go the next day and then you're like, why did I care about that? And I'm starting this new thing. And then you're like, actually, this is making more sense now. And I think Dobby touched on that too. You just don't get too attached in the early stages of writing, because like no one's going to hear these demos unless you show them or unless you develop them. But you have to just be willing to kill your babies and then just move on to the next thing and just build a body of work that you can then assess from like a bird's eye view and be like, these are the best 5. This is something here.
Yeah, and it's very easy to fall in love with your own work, especially these days with where tech is at, recording facilities in your own bedroom, and making things sound. It's very easy to fall into the trap of falling in love with your own work very quickly, without the sort of perspective of distance, which is super important, which is what a producer would usually do, if you can have someone outside to, yeah.
So what about those, the turds that are... that is a good band name. I'm down with that. The archives, the bits laying around, the unfinished songs, the snippets, lyrics, whatever. Do you have those archives, and do you find yourself revisiting them? And how do you find those experiences?
Yeah, definitely. And I revisit them probably once a year, maybe once every 2 years. And the reason why is because it takes me back to a certain space in my life that that I've just sort of forgotten about. And I'm like, oh, what about that song that I wrote way back when? And I remember getting like a new guitar, and I wanted to write this beautiful song, and I did, but I hated it, by the end of the day. But it's the memory of it is still significant to me, even though I will not show that song to anybody. For me, just takes me back.
I also think definitely coming up from revisiting those memories, I also feel like those memories hold energy, and it feels like everything is reusable. Even if you make a terrible song, something that's like, whoa, I would never show anybody that's embarrassing. But you can take the energy from that, you can take lyrical moments from that, you can recycle it, and then you can hate that, and then you can merge it. I listen to my old songs all the time. There are songs that I have repurposed years after I've written them, because I'm in a new, completely different perspective, and I can see the value that idea holds, or it continues to hold, and you can reuse everything. Even if it's not an exact motif of the music, you can still remember how it felt. You can still use everything that you've done. It's all still part of you, and yeah.
I think we're all probably in the same boat. We've all got hard drives or phones full of ideas and memories, and you know what they say about fertilizer? Shit makes the best fertilizer. So it may be, since we're talking about turds for some reason, or this new supergroup, the Turds, who are on stage. I've got plenty of ideas too that do resurface years later and may get used.
Yeah,
so you don't chuck anything out. You just keep it.
Do you find yourself using them or slotting them into other songs?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely, little bits. You might be searching. You might have a 3/4 or a half-finished song. You go, and then just for some reason, something will pop into your mind that you might have done years ago. I finished a song recently that I started like 8 years ago, just sitting in a lounge room with a friend. We were talking about similar subject matter, and I went, oh, and then just finished a song like 8 years later. I went, okay, cool, it's really good. Well, I did say it's a balance.
You're not going to
well,
finish
it
every
is.
song.
You're not going to
You're
finish
not.
every single song. And composing for projects is a different path as well, because, like as Lance is saying, I've only done a little bit of it, no doubt less than Lance, but you do have deadlines, you do have parameters, and you do need to get shit done within a time frame.
But like also, what I mean is like you need to, in the early stages, you need to get a demo up to a certain level, so you at least know that the potential of what it could be, and then you can assess a body of work together and be like, these are my favorite 5 out of the 10. I'm going to finish these. That's my process at least. It's just because if you focus on the finite details too early, you're not willing to kind of see, and you're not willing to break the song, because in those early stages, you need to be able to break it. You need to be like, what happens if I do this? And if you're too attached, you won't make those decisions. And you won't see the potential of where you could take this song. So, and then once you've done that, I feel like, and then you've got a body of work, you can then go in there and finish everything and get the strings on it and, you know, all that, whatever.
So what about if you have a song where you're having trouble making it work? You're kind of almost there, but you can't quite get it over the line. Do you have any tactics for that? You know, we talked before about like maybe going for a walk or going for a swim or something like that. Or, you know, you hear people who have different ideas around how they approach that. I think PJ Harvey said when she can't finish a song, she just takes out her favourite part, which is fascinating. But, you know, there's different ways that people approach that. Does anybody have any ideas on how do you tackle that?
My process is about spontaneity and just moving forward. So if I get stuck on something, I just move on to the next thing. We have computers. You can hit save and you can come back to it tomorrow. For me, there's no reason to be stuck on something. Music is meant to be a flowing state. And if it's not flowing, just start a new idea. And maybe the new idea that you have will have some of that, the idea from the last track, but it just worked, and it works without any friction. But yeah, I mean, the guys might have a different idea on that. But
I would say don't ram it. Like don't like hyperfixate. And that's something that I've done so many times, and I've ruined songs by doing this. It's just by going, well, if I fix this and do this and do this, and then it's just like you're digging yourself a giant hole. I personally would just say you need space, move on to a new project, move on to a new idea, to a new element, or just completely pause it. Like, just pause it. Take a day, take 2 days. Show it to a non-musical friend, you know? Like, it's always interesting talking to somebody who doesn't really listen to music very much. Do you know anyone like that? Yeah. And then they're like, wow, this is really arty and like different. And you're like, yeah, okay, true. And then you get like this different perspective on it, and you're able to kind of anchor yourself a little bit more and go, okay, maybe this is what I need to do. But yeah, space, get perspective.
Yeah, and I would agree with all of that. And the only thing I would add to that is, as a musician, learn more than one instrument. So for me, if I ever get stuck, if I've written on the guitar and I'm stuck, I'll go to the piano and play the song on the piano, which will inevitably be different intonations and different everythings. It opens up, it's almost like you're a different person writing the song again for a minute. So I find that a pretty handy tool for getting past that sort of block of, you know, I haven't quite finished the song yet.
Like Lance said, music is flowing. It should be, well, when you're in the frame of mind of writing, it should be always sort of circulating in your mind, even when you're doing mundane things like washing the dishes or feeding the kids or whatever. So whenever a block happens for me, I just stop and live life. I just go out and do the shopping, I go to work, go out and do whatever I need to do, because it's always going in the back of my mind, and then I'll come back to it when I'm ready.
What about mentors or people in your life that you go to, whether it's musical or otherwise? Do you have people that you, like you've just said about taking your song to a non-musical person, do you guys have people in your life that you would refer to as a mentor or someone that you go to?
I do, and I'm very selective. And it's only like 2 or 3 people max. That's it. When it's my work, I am very precious about who has a say or an opinion that means something to me. If it's for something else, like a co-writing thing, and it's for an issue that I'm not emotionally invested in, it can be anybody. But for my stuff, it's precious. It's my artistry. So I have 2 or 3 people that I go to, and I trust their opinion, and they'll often help sort of navigate or steer me in the right direction.
I did say go to a non-musical person earlier. I'd like to retract that. Sometimes I get the microphone in my hand and I'm talking and my voice is happening. That was weird. We can all probably agree. I have one person.
I'm going to support that statement once you're finished, by the way. And I'll tell you why once you're finished.
Thank you. There's one person. I have one person. And his name is Kaya Gosner, and he's my producer. And before that, there was only one person, and his name is Damien Taylor, and he's my producer. It's whoever is in the intimate space with me, who knows me through the period of that song making. And like, I'll show friends and stuff, but it's more of a surface level, you know. But there's one person, and he understands my brain. So I think it's important for people to have that. You can't just stew by yourself like the whole time. I mean, you can, but like, I just think it's a more enriching experience to connect with others as we're people, you know, and to share and bounce ideas back and forth, and to be open to a greater perspective than your own.
Yeah, I definitely have one very close friend that I've known for a long time who I trust for their honesty, really. I mean, they have musical knowledge as well, but they're, you know, blunt and very blunt with me, which I really appreciate. But let me just take one step back for a second. I would talk about this in the workshops, but one thing that I find, self-editing can be pretty hard, but one thing that I've done and found very effective, I had a studio in Melbourne. It was in a complex of rooms. There were lawyers over there and little marketing groups of people. We were loose friends, I guess. But the best way for me to self-edit would be to ask one of these people to come in and listen to this demo I've recorded, just play it. They don't know anything about the music industry or music. I find myself inevitably going, oh, I'm going to change that bit. Oh, no, look, don't worry about that lyric, because it's going to be... You're suddenly, so it's a non-musical person, really. Yeah. You're suddenly ripped out of yourself, and you're kind of going, you know, that needs to be it faster, doesn't it? And they're sitting there going...
Sounds good to me.
I would absolutely back that idea that get a non-musical person in to just sit there and you will just become the best editor you need.
It's actually, it's really weird. When you play music by yourself in a room, it is so different to when you show it to someone. All of a sudden, you view the music differently. I don't know what it is. It's like magic. It's really bizarre. But whenever I have someone in the room, you're like, oh my God, the kick drum.
That's exactly.
What am I doing? Like, wait, no, that's going to change. That's going to change. Yeah. And you're like, before you're like, this is sick. This isn't a turd.
This is exactly right. So your point is very valid.
Actually, everyone, I was right. I was right earlier, before.
This was a bit they rehearsed earlier, actually.
We got together by the croissants.
I'm actually just laying out all the stuff I'd saved for the bloody workshop, so I'm going to have nothing when we get to the...
Lance, I guess for you, do you find then that you're often working completely solo?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, with a recent project that I'm working on for this new project that I've started, I am working with, collaborating with singers, which has been really fun. But for the most part, my job as a composer, I'm sat in a room by myself, and I love that. That's my happy place. I couldn't imagine working in an office with other people. Like, I love just being in my room. I just love the process of writing music. And I think as a musician, you have to love the process of writing music. That's the, like, if you don't like that, this is not for you. Like, you have to be content with just the process of writing music, with no expectation of that music to make you anything. You can't expect anything from music. Music has to be made for the love of music. So if you go into this being like, oh, I'm going to make an album and then I'm going to be a millionaire and I'm going to be famous, sorry, it's not going to happen. It's the wrong mentality. You've got to go in there being like, I love writing music. And if that's why you're all here today, I'm sure that's why you're all here today. But it's about the process and finding, you know, you grow as a musician and then your process becomes more and more fluid as you just learn new things. Your vocabulary as a musician grows and expands. Yeah.
Can I ask then for you, if you're working, and for anybody, I guess, if you're doing a project where you're working for someone else, for a client, do you, and you saying, Lance, that you just love the process of writing, do you ever find it challenging in those situations when you are having to write for a project or for somebody else to find that love?
No, I find it super easy because it's just, A, I'm not attached to it, B, they know what they want. And like, so it's almost transactional at that point. It's just like, this is the task at hand. I have a day to do it, and you just get it done. And it's just, I've never not hit a deadline. It's crazy what you can do if you just set yourself deadlines for your own music as well. Because that's one thing that I think I've finally figured out to do is, because I used to just be like, oh, you know, this song, I'll just finish it next week. And then it was a month, and then you never get it done. But you just gotta, you know, really set yourself hard deadlines, and then the creativity will it'll come to you in the time that you have. So what, were you gonna say something?
I was going to say it's a little different if you're working with another artist.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, that is the dream. To just sit down and be like, oh, this is the brief. Let me just slay. But sometimes when you're working with another creative body in a room, it can suck. It can be terrible. Like, if you don't have a connection with this person, and if you don't flow, are there songwriters here who do sessions, who maybe session writers at all? Yeah, great. So it can be harder because you have to finesse the emotional and spiritual connection with another person, which can be really, really complicated, especially, you know, especially if you're working in more of a commercial world. Yes, it's easier when it's transactional, I agree. Like, you take the emotions out of it. But, you know, I've worked with people who have genuinely been like, we just want this song to be a really chill vibe. Everybody in the club go crazy. And it's just like, you know, and you have to put yourself there. It's like an unwilling tourist situation. But you can do it.
I love this. It's great. And so I guess then the concept of collaborating, you know, like, and particularly, okay, so today we're sitting here and we're talking about songwriting. We're all going to go into workshops, and potentially some of you might be asked to start to songwrite together or collaborate. How do you approach a collaboration? Let's say if you're working with another artist or another songwriter, do you have ways to set yourself up? You mentioned something before, Karen, about how that passion that you feel when it's your personal you know, project. But if you're collaborating with someone else, it's almost like is it a little one step removed?
Yeah, I'm completely guided. And
that's interesting.
I'm just, no, I'm here to do a task. This is the task. This is what you're asking me to do, because it's not my personal story. But I've only been asked to write music that is completely opposite to what I do. Like house tracks, for some reason, you know, they want a big gospel voice in a lot of house tracks at the moment, or in the last couple of years anyway. So I've been getting a lot of calls and inquiries, and it is so far removed from what I do. I love gospel music, but when I hear house, I don't identify with it at all. And not because there's anything wrong with it, it's just I can't connect to it. And what they're asking me to do is like, sort of feels like sometimes I have to manipulate my voice in a way that is like bending my elbow backwards. It just feels, it feels completely foreign to me. But I will write because I want some money and potential money, hopefully, you know, if it goes far, and if not, and then it was just an exercise. But
Do you like the outcome?
generally, no. And there are house songs out there that I have sung on, and do you want your name on it? Absolutely not. But there are some that I'm very passionate about. Like I'm passionate about this group called Oyobi, and it's more like a Latin electronic sort of feel. And I'm like, yeah, put my name all over that, because that sounds great. But other ones, I'm like, no, thank you.
That is part of the beauty of the difference of all of us, obviously, but all of us as songwriters, is we do things in different ways, and we have different strengths, and we respond to different situations in different ways. I've done some collaborations with people. I've been overseas and for the purpose of, with my publisher, to write for other groups specifically, and I got back from that situation not really enjoying it, because it's just who I am. Like, I'm very connected to what I like to do as well. So, you know, I finished writing with a band, and yeah, it's sounding really good, and then, you know, the band's going, so awesome, look, we've got 30 other writers to sort of, you know, next few weeks we've got heaps of more people to write with. I go, that's cool, I understand it, that's to get the best work, and I couldn't help but feel a little bit sort of like, oh, I put my heart and soul into that, but I guess it's just production line work. And, you know, people can adapt to that and work really well in that format, and others are not really just built that way, and that's just how it is, and that's okay, because the purpose of all of it is to be authentic to whoever the heck it is. I almost used a rude word there, didn't I? Whoever the heck it is you are, and that's your path. And if music doesn't become a career-bending success for you, that's okay. It's still going to be like the best companion you can have in your life, aside from maybe a human companion. But it'll always be a companion in your life, and that's my light at the end of the tunnel, I think.
Yeah, going on that about the process, like for me, my worst nightmare is sitting in a room with someone being like, hey, let's write a song together, because that's not how I write music. I write music from like from a solitary kind of thing, where I have a really clear, considered idea already that I then give to a vocalist. So I will have a song that I will kind of somewhat have an idea of what the song is about and a concept. And we'll be talking about this in my workshop, of kind of how my step-by-step process. And then I will share that with a singer, so that there is a considered idea and there is framework for them. And if they identify with this idea, and I don't just reach out to any singer, I reach out to someone who I think that, after, you know, knowing their music and what they care about, they are the right singer for this song. And I find that a really fluid way of working for me, because there's no, you know, we're aiming towards something. There's a goal, there's an intention, there's an idea. And then within that idea, they can still express themselves, but it's just like, hey, this is the concept. Do you like it? Yes or no? And if they like it, then we have a good song, usually.
Darren, can I ask you, having written within a band and then writing solo, does that mean did you feel as connected to those songs writing within a band as you do your solo work?
Well, you have to be able to let go a little bit. You know, it probably got to a point for a couple of us in the band where we would bring the songs in and just kind of go, well, you know, this is part of the process. You have to kind of let it go and hope that it does become something better. It usually does. And, you know, you have to always allow room for the other human beings in the group to insert their characters and let them own the song. Not just, I don't mean own the song, but I mean feel like you've written the song, because that's the sort of feeling you want to have when you're a part of any collaboration. It's like, yeah, it's your song, and it's your song, and it's your song too. So it's a very different process in a band. it's always about your heart and soul, and it's always still about getting things done. But you have to just learn how to let go a little bit. And as a solo artist, you don't really have to do that as much. And that doesn't mean that your work as a solo artist is better than when you're in a group, because I would say, in my circumstance and with all of my old band's circumstances, I don't think any of our work is better than what we did as a collective. But on a personal level, I feel much more satisfied and happy in that sense, I suppose, on a very personal level.
That's really interesting. Does anybody have a great collaborative experience that they'd like to discuss?
Yes.
Oh, yes, she does.
Yes,
Finally.
I do. Hello, everyone. It's me again. Yeah, I did this song on my album Herald called Fever Break. And this Slumberjack and I had this, no, it wasn't Slumberjack, it was Hermitude, sorry. We had similar sessions around that, in that week. Hermitude and I were in this studio together, and I was freaking out because I used to like froth Hermitude when I was a teenager. I was like, the whole time. So I got in there and I was like just playing it really cool, and I was like, yeah, this is fine, chill. This is cool. And then they were like, this is the synth we're gonna use for this break. What do you think of it? And it's like this pitch bending, like, and they designed it, they created the entire sound, but I played it. So I feel like I pretty much am part of the band now. So yeah, I'm pretty much in Hermitude, guys, just letting you know. And I just wanted to tell everyone because that's really, really cool.
I love that. So perhaps when you are writing, do you ever think about the outcome, as in, how is this going to sound live? Or are you thinking about how it's going to sound recorded? Obviously, you're each approaching songwriting in a different way, so Landsat might be different to maybe the way that, Odette might approach something. But do you have in mind how this is going to be delivered to an audience when you're writing?
I absolutely do. I imagine how it's going to sound live, and that's the thing that helps me navigate the rest of the song. I am not so much a studio artist. I will record music in a studio, but it's not my favorite space. It's a dead room where I have to ask for a little bit of reverb so I can feel like I'm in a live and active room, and I'm singing to a piece of glass or a piece of foam. It's not where my soul lives. My soul lives on the stage. My soul lives in connection and feeling the energy from the band and from other people. That's where I live. What was the question?
Well, I think you just answered it. It's do you have in your mind?
Yes, I do. Yes. So it's that moment when I'm on the stage. I'm like, is my guitar? What guitar will I play, and how will it sound, and how will I achieve that? And then where's the moment? Where's the peak in the song that draws everybody in? And yeah, all those sorts of things.
You should record an album live.
I have them.
Never
some
mind,
of
she
the
did already.
unfinished projects that I'm sitting on the hard drive.
Sorry, my bad. Yeah, I think also touching on that, like, I think Dobby in the previous chat brought up Damn, the Kendrick, that's Kendrick Lamar. I know things. And it's played, you can play it forwards and you can play it backwards. And Joanna Newsom has this, she's an amazing singer-songwriter and harpist. Yeah, she's really cool. She has an album that is the same, it's cyclical. And I love that you can listen to all these songs individually, you can immerse yourself in them, but then when you zoom out, it's like a picture. It's like looking at a crop circle on the ground, you know? You plant all these different plants and then there's like a beautiful image when you zoom out. And I think that some of the best albums of all time take into consideration how they're viewed as a whole. And how, yeah, I just think that's really beautiful.
Just looking at the room, you're kind of speaking about concept albums, for instance, like Dark Side of the Moon or whatever. But when albums were crafted in that sense, where they were crafted from top to bottom, and this is where we're headed, this is what we want to do, and this is the journey. These days, see, I think it's a bit different these days. Of course, it's just little just grabs of bits and pieces, and it's getting people's attention is a lot harder. But I guess that's a whole different discussion about the industry itself. But as for the question, was something about having a goal when you're writing. Yeah, I think definitely at times it will help you finish your project. Important to have a goal if you're going to make a certain sort of song, or perhaps a certain sort of record, or a certain sort of song. Good to have goalposts to head to, and all of a sudden you've got a pool of influence and other people doing it that you can kind of go, okay, I wonder how they did that. All right, I'm going to learn how to do that, or maybe I'll obviously give it my own version. How things are going to end up on stage, but I also, for me, I'm a very both sides of the fence person. So I'll start something and then I'll move to another instrument, and all of a sudden it's maybe I'll turn it into a string arrangement in the computer, and it's gone from here to here to here and ends up here. I never imagined it ending up here, but that's perhaps what feels best, and that's where it is done. I'm going to move on to the next one.
Do you have anything to add, Lance?
Yeah, like I think being able to visualize, what is the ensemble, and then sometimes that can also give you the limitations to be like, okay, well, I have one guitar, one bass, one drummer, one singer. That's my ensemble. That's what I'm going to write for, and therefore you can then realize that in a live context. Again, just going back to like the art of restraint and limitation as a way of writing music. It's just because you can pull up an abundance of sounds and stuff with the technology that we have, doesn't mean that you need to do it to write, music that connects with people.
We're going to go to some questions in just a second, but I want to ask one last question of you guys. It's a two-part question, I guess. Do you listen to much music, particularly in a height of creativity? Some people say that they can't listen to music or otherwise. So do you listen to music? And also, what are you listening to at the moment?
Gary Clark Jr. is my favourite. So he's on rotation and he's coming to Australia, so I bought tickets instantly. But sometimes I don't have a choice not to listen to music. If I'm learning music for a show, I have to have that music on repeat. Sometimes I don't get a preference, so I don't even think about it. Yeah.
Jamiroquai. Jamiroquai. I really like Karen Dalton. I like folk music. I like Joanna Newsom, Fiona Apple. But I also really like listening to trashy music. I think sometimes I think artists we can all get so immersed in our own universe that sometimes it's like I just need to laugh at something. So I'll listen to 303, or I'll listen to like Kids by MGMT. That's a good song. That's a really good song.
No, absolutely.
It is a good song.
Totally.
It's a really good song.
I don't find myself sitting down listening to music as much these days, or if I do, God, it's a cliche probably, but I go back and listen to the stuff that I used to love. There would be 70s artists and 60s artists and whatnot. Totally open to new music, of course, and I do listen to it, and if I'm working on a project where I have to kind of immerse myself in it, I'll absolutely soak it in. I don't tend to spend that much time listening to music, but I do still love, more than anything, to go and see people performing music. So going to see a singer-songwriter or whatever in a bar is still probably my favourite thing to do.
I try to make the time and effort when I'm in the car to listen to mixtapes and music. There's a radio station out of London called NTS Radio. I don't know if anyone knows what that is, but it's a community radio station. And they just have the most incredible curators, human curators on that show, better than any Spotify playlist you're going to find. These people dedicate their lives to really bespoke, niche genres of music, whether that's soul, Northern African funk music, whatever it may be. And I find a lot of inspiration and a lot of great music from these human curated playlists. And so, I'm going out of my way to kind of listen to these shows, and I just drive with Auto Shazam on and just like try to like find these records. But yeah, someone said it before, but there was a moment where I kind of fell out of love with listening to music, because I was writing it all the time, but I just wasn't listening to it. And maybe a few years ago, I re-fell in love with music. And but you gotta again just give it the time. You have to go, right, I'm cooking dinner, I'm gonna listen to NTS, put it on for an hour, and you'll find something. You'll be like, who the hell's this? And then you go and you find their back catalogue, and it opens up a new world.
Fabulous. NTS, write that down. We've got, now I do want to tell everyone, obviously if you look on your lanyards, you will know who you have workshops with this afternoon, so do realise that you will get some time potentially with these guys. Does anybody have any questions? We've probably got 5 minutes for questions. Right.
Thank you all for sharing your thoughts, emotions and experience. How much time do you take to listen to your own music once it's complete? Once it's done, do you shelve it and get on with the next thing, or do you actually revisit your own music? And what do you feel about that when you do?
So in the recording process, all I'm listening to is my own music. After it's done, I move on. I listen to it once on Spotify to make sure that the mix is good to what I had how I had it mastered, and then I'm just so absorbed by then that I'm ready to write new music. I've had enough. Yeah. Oh, I don't mind. Like if somebody's playing it, I'll be like, yeah, that's me. But but yeah, I wouldn't go out of my way to play it at a party. On Spotify or whatever. Your music? Yeah. Oh, well, that's different then. Yeah, good on you.
And this is kind of weird, but this is my old band history. But if you are walking through Woolies, I could be walking through Woolies and I'll hear my song go, but I kind of go,
You should be.
But also, if you're a live performer, it's a different format, obviously, to listening back, but you are living the song time and time and time again. So that's, yeah.
Yeah, I think for a little bit, because you're listening to it incessantly over and over again as you're making it, and then it gets to the mixing stage, and you're listening it 10 times a day, and then mastering, and then if you finally release it, and you're like, oh God, I'm so over this thing. And I don't know, maybe a few more months, and then I'm like, okay, I need to just stop listening to this now, and it's done, it's finished, it's out there. And then you just move on to the next thing.
I'm the same. And there are some songs of mine that I really love to listen to. There's one song that I released called Mandible, which I'm like, that's so nice, I love that one. But then from that album, I'm like, I can't, because it's done. You move on.
Next question.
Hello. I have a question about music theory, and if you're a musician who's drawn quite naturally to an instrument or vocal melodies or stuff like that, how important do you think music theory is as a songwriter to be able to come up with new ideas? Like how deep should you go in learning traditional notation, knowing how to notate drum beats, reading guitar tabs, things like that, being able to chart your own music? Do you think that's an important process of songwriting in general?
I think learning how to read music and understand music from that technical point of view is really valid, and it's super important. And you're not going to know everything, obviously, like you mentioned before, but as much as you can absorb and understand and articulate back in certain situations, like sometimes when I was starting out with a band, I didn't know how to describe, hey, you're playing the wrong thing, but I want you to play this instead. All I could describe it as was like in colours. Like I couldn't, and that was so frustrating because, yeah, but it's such an asset. Yeah.
I think having an understanding of the fundamentals of harmony is going to help you and your music. Whether or not you use it in the way that you write music, but it at least gives you the framework to be like, I'm stuck, how do I get past this? And if you understand things like counterpoint, or, you know, like a good place to start would be Bach's 4-part choral writing. What he was doing back then is still relevant to pop music now. And I think it just basically gives you a framework to either use or not, and to expand upon. But the rules are there to be broken, and it's just like, it's a vocabulary. So the more you know about music, the more colorful your music can be. Do you know, like for example, Taylor Swift, she's the best at doing pop music with block colors. You know what I mean? It's quite simple music, but she does it very effectively with those colors. Whereas like someone like Keith Jarrett is using a broader range of colors because he's got a broader vocabulary in music. So it's just like, it's like painting. What colors are you using? What colors do you want to use? And I think that goes down to just knowing more about music and studying it, and yeah.
Yeah, I agree with this. Sorry, I was just going to say, yeah, I agree with these guys. It's very important to have at least some sort of foundation, because it will help dig you out of roadblocks that you might find yourself in. You go, oh, well, at least, you know, what scale of a key am I in? So then, oh, okay, well, I'm stuck. Well, God, I'm just going to go there because I know that in some format it will relate to the world I'm in. So definitely good to have a foundation. But like many people in the arts field, it's like learn it, then pack it away and just live it. So foundations are very important, I think, as well.
I can't read music, like, at all. Just straight up. Cannot do it. But I agree that learning music theory and immersing yourself in as many genres as possible, and actually creating a vocabulary for yourself is crucial. I created my first album not being able to communicate what I wanted. I couldn't talk about anything. Even now my brain's just blanking, because until I'm actually in the studio, I don't really, I zone in. But now as an artist, like, I'm able to fully articulate what I want, and it's because I've actually done the work into understanding it. I still can't read music. I actually think it's some kind of dyslexia, honestly. But I don't want that, like, if you're like me and you find looking at notation to be like, just like, holy, what the hell is that? Don't give up. You can still write music. You can still work with an orchestra. You can still work with an ensemble. You can get help. You don't have to do it by yourself. You know, there are ways for you to articulate exactly what you want, for you to write music exactly how you want it. If you need someone to notate for you, you can find that. I've worked with some incredible composers who have done that for me, for my live shows, but I have done the score. We talk all the time, we bounce ideas off each other. I will send them like a voice note, or I will do a recording of my own, and then they will take that and notate it. But yeah, there are options for people who can't read notation. I just want to put that out there.
Absolutely. You can also get a keyboard and go, you turn it into notation. You can sing into it, have it converted from audio.
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah.
What's that software
I do
called
that every
again?
time. Yeah, that's how I write.
Yeah.
You know, if I have to give parts to players, I'm writing the string part in my DAW, and then in my DAW I can go, you know, the keyboard scroll into notation. I might need to clean up some stuff, put phrasing and whatnot, but it's there now in the DAW. It's such a great tool.
I think that's a really nice way to wrap up. And I'm sorry, I know that many of you still have questions. I'd normally say I wish we were here all day, but we are, so you can come and talk to them. So it's not the end of the line. I would like to say thank you to the four of you. That was wonderful. We really appreciate all your insights and openness. Thanks, guys. Big round of applause.